right, guys. Hey, so we got a really great question in the group today from my good pal Happy, and I think this is something everyone can relate to, including myself. I think everybody at some point in their life has hit this point, and you know, in a lot of cases didn't know where to go, and that's why, you know, I'm really happy about Cold Crowd, you know, growing and having more people in the group, because it's just. Sometimes you just need to ask this question and get it out there and not feel judged and all this kind of good stuff. So props to Happy for the transparency. A couple other people kind of said, yep, me too, I'm having that issue too. And, you know, I think we've all been here, so I'll just kind of briefly go over it. What he asked was, you know, do any of you get close to launching, right? So you built your product, you built your service, you're working on systems, you've done all this stuff, but when it comes to time to jump into sales, and I'll call it sales right now. I think marketing is that next step, but that sales effort, that for getting those first users, getting that valuable feedback, starting to sell, starting to talk to people in the market, starting to invalidate some of your ideas, starting to get raw feedback that you might not like, right? Like some uncomfortable stuff, getting on calls with people you don't know. All this kind of stuff, you know what I mean? And you kind of hit that wall. And this is different for everybody. I think for Happy, it's like that. I think for some of us, it's more like after launch. Like we launch, we get the first users, it's all good. But when we start to get the feedback, or we have to start actually doing more outreach or finding ways to jump on sales calls, and we get nervous before sales calls, there's all kinds of ways that this can happen, or different stages, I guess, that you can feel this way. But it's kind of like this feeling of self-sabotage, this feeling of like, you know, I'm nervous. I'm nervous to get this out there. I'm nervous to get the feedback. I'm nervous to see what people actually think and present this to a cold audience. And yeah, this is something really common. And thankfully, in my career, in my life, I haven't really had this that bad. I've always been very heavy on execution. Whether that, you know, just executing, you know, taking action all the time, and sometimes, you know, I lose focus for sure. Like I'll get bored of a project and kind of lose focus and meander and do other things, and admittedly that could be kind of like a problem. You know, I'm always learning and stuff too. I don't consider myself at the level of success I'd like to be at all. So and stuff like that. But you know, I think I tend to lose focus is my issue, but the actual execution, getting out there, getting first users, getting money, improving things, blah blah blah, I'm generally pretty good at. And I'll kind of go through a couple of factors I think that contribute. And I apologize for the noise, but that contribute to this feeling, and maybe go through some ways that you can help it and kind of get over it. So. Number one, I think in society these days, people are extremely comfortable. I think humanity has hit a point where we're extremely, extremely comfortable. You know, people are, you know, living on credit more than ever. People are, you know, working in comfortable jobs, working from home, you know, living with their parents till they're fucking 40, whatever it is, right? Like, you know, our society has become quite lethargic in general, in my opinion. And I think, you know, or from what I see, and, you know, the supermarket's so close and everything's so convenient, and everything comes in a package, and everything's processed, and everything's ready to consume. And, you know, if you're sick, take this medicine. And if you, you know, are full, take a Pepto-Bismol. It's just ridiculous, right? How kind of comfortable people are, and how they're not really, there's just no urgency to really anything, right, that they do. It's just kind of like, yeah, do whatever. And so when it comes to like executing, you know, on an entrepreneurial, from a standpoint of an entrepreneur, and trying to like build a business, or build a SaaS, or build software, or build a consulting firm, or, you know, or build a plumbing company, or whatever it is, or whatever you're into, right? There's no wrong way to do that. And you know, building a media, building a blog, building a YouTube channel. There's this thing about executing and getting it out there and distributing it, and then getting the feedback, and then improving, that, you know, just getting to that point. There's that getting to the point of, you know, tinkering with the tools, making some things, doing a little bit, but then getting this point when you actually go to launch and you go, oh, I'm going to go do something else. That I think a lot comes from just the comfort that people are experiencing. I think you really do need to have your back against the wall. And like, I don't know, in my own experience in my life, I mean, I spent 10 years living in Los Angeles with no car. Not only because I couldn't afford it, but just honestly, just because I wanted to experiment in my life and just see what it's like to not have a car in Los Angeles and just live that life, and only have a skateboard and a bicycle and have to get around that way. And in other situations in my life, I've cut things out. I've tried to keep myself hungry. I've tried to keep myself in a desperate situation on purpose, in a way, because there were moments where, and I know a lot of people criticize me about this, actually, that I talk to. They're like, because I don't have credit cards and I have no credit debt and I have no debt at all. And people kind of are like, well, fuck, dude, you could be like leveraging, debt to be doing all these other things, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And eventually I'll probably get there. But, from my mind and my mindset, it's been so helpful to have to be cash positive, to have to be revenue positive to survive. With the way that I was brought up and everything like that, I wasn't brought up by rich people who had abundant mindsets and stuff. So keeping my back against the wall to some extent has been very helpful for me to progress, and to really have my back against the wall. When I launch a project, it has to make money. I'm not here to I'm not here to get funding and then be somebody else's bitch. You know what I mean? And I'm also not here to have a credit card full of debt. But I feel I'm doing. No, man. I want to execute quick, swiftly, come up with a good idea for a market I know will work or I feel will work, and I want to test the market quick, and I want to get results, and I want to be cash flow positive immediately so that I can then reinvest those profits into other things. And in a lot of cases, I've taken no profits myself. I've just lived on the bare minimum. I'm generally a pretty minimalistic person, you know what I mean? But this is the kind of, this is how I've lived my life, because it just felt, it helped me develop a mindset of this is how to match a market with a product or a service, and this is how to execute, get out there, sell. I taught myself everything from the get-go. It's I learned how to build websites, I learned how to design, I learned about fonts, I learned about color psychology, I learned all that stuff. Then I had to move on, then I had to learn marketing, because these websites don't do shit if you're not marketing it. So, God, and I apologize for the noise, guys. It's gonna be a loud one. The city's crazy. And then I learned marketing, I learned paid ads, and I learned SEO, and after that I started to see results coming from that, but it wasn't fast enough, so I had to learn sales. So when I started to learn sales, that was when I was able to really take something to market quick and start executing, right? And so learning all those things, having my back against the wall forced me to learn all those things. Also the fact that I dropped out of high school and did not do any college at all, and just jumped right into business, right into running my own businesses, freelancing, doing everything like that. With no safety net really at all. It drove me, you know what I mean? It just was a lot of drive and a lot of pressure on me that some may see as well, that's horrible. That's a lot of stress on a person. Yeah, but I know how to take something to market and make it successful and hire people to help me and then move on. I know how to create systems. I know how to market. I know how to build websites. I know how to build landing pages. I know how to do conversion rate optimization. I know how to write sales copy. I know how to do sales calls. I know how to close deals. I know how to come up with offers. So it's because of that pressure that I was under that I was able to do that. And obviously I'm not the best at any of those things. I'm still learning every single day, and hopefully at some point, and I know there's that saying of jack of all trades, master of none. It's shit, man. I mean, I would say be functional at almost everything you can possibly be functional at, right? Because at the end of the day, you only can really account for yourself. You need to be responsible for your own self, right? At the end of the day, no one's going to come save you. We all die alone. We're all individuals. There's no safety net really at the end of the day, right? Most of it's fake. So back to the society, most of it's fake. Okay, so all this credit debt, all these cars on credit, all this materialism gone insane, and comfort gone insane, where people really feel like they need to be wearing a Versace robe and going to a sauna every morning. I whatever. I mean, whatever works for you. Health is health, but sometimes you need to grind. Sometimes you really need to put the work in, right? And you need to have that kind of hunter-gatherer. You need to go back to your primal self, and especially if you're a man. I mean, women too, but men especially need to be in that provider mindset and that hunter mindset, where it's you don't kill, you don't eat. right? Like, you don't kill, you don't eat, and you need to feel that way in your life. Like, especially in the early days when you're just getting going and you don't have that, like, you don't have the investments, and you don't have the, like, assets, and you don't have any kind of, like, net worth going on, you know what I mean? And you're just at that point where you need cash flow and just to pay for your bills and stuff. I mean, you need to be feeling that. You need to feel that, and you need to confront that. And it's something, I'm a huge comedy fan, you know what I mean? And I believe comedy is extremely important in life, man, to be able to laugh and find humor in things. And Norm Macdonald is one of my favorite, he's my favorite comedian by far. And, one of the things that he talks about in interviews and stuff a lot is, like, just facing life as it is for real. Like, not sugarcoating it, like, really facing life. And yeah, like, really seeing, like, like, facing your death, like looking at death and reflecting on death, and knowing every day that you're gonna die, like, knowing that, not doing what most people are doing, who are all comfortable thinking that they're never gonna die, you know what I mean, and that this is just, I'm just here in this fantasy, like, no, dude, you're gonna die. You're a physical, material being. I mean, deep down, you're a spiritual being that will live for eternity, but that's a different form, and the form that you're in, you will die. And so facing that and not avoiding that, it seems sad or harsh for most people, but for the people that really understand it, like, you're a true warrior, you're a true human being, you're really living a real life with that in mind, you know what I mean? And the choices that you make are going to be better choices if you're aware of your death, of your impending death, and that you could die at any second, and just being aware of that makes you make different choices and work at a different pace and stuff like that. So, I think that there's this primal thing that you need to kind of reconnect with when you're feeling this way. Like, oh, I don't know, what if people don't like it? What if I don't make any money? What if this happens? Man, don't worry about it, dude. You got your back against the wall. Do something or don't do it, right? And if you don't do it, you're going to starve, and you need to feel that way. So I think that's number one, is that I think society has trained us all to be very dependent on something else outside of ourselves. It's taken us into this modern living where everything is very easy and comfortable and, overly complicated, but, like, comfortable and convenient. Convenience, I guess, is the word I'm looking for. And we need to go back to that primal thing. And it's funny too, real quick. I mean, I hear a lot of guys talk about, like, taking cold showers, and a lot of people make fun of it. And I think it's funny, you know what I mean? I think it's a funny discourse, because it's like, yeah, taking cold showers is, I'm sorry about the noise again, guys. I don't know what the hell that is. But, yeah, like, I think it's a really funny kind of conversation that people have about cold showers, because cold showers are like, yeah, I don't think it's necessary. Like, I don't think everyone should have to. But, like, there's this thing, man, where, like, if you're living life and you're feeling too comfortable, man, wake up and take a cold shower. Like, if you're feeling like everything's too easy, go do something hard. Make it painful for a day, for a minute, for a second. You know what I mean? Like, get some contrast in your life, all right? So, like, I lived in the tropics for a while, like, for a year, and we didn't even have water heating at all, right? Which sounds like you're going to be like, you're fucking crazy. Well, it's fucking hot and humid over there, man. So, like, we didn't really, like, feel like we needed it, but there were winters, or a winter, right, of that year that came through, and like, we were taking cold showers every day, no matter what. And dude, I don't know, that experience of forcing myself to take cold showers every morning, and, like, it's because you don't have water heating and you're living in, like, an old building and in the tropical region. So anyway, just create some discomfort for yourself if you can't, if you're living at your parents' house and or you have a big savings and you feel like, oh, this is like, I can just do this tomorrow, whatever, man, like, kick yourself in the ass and, like, really do it, and realize that you're gonna die, and you're mortal, and there's no time like the present to get this thing going, and don't have any fear about launching something, because you're responsible for your own self at the end of the day, right? And so you need to take that responsibility seriously, and you need to execute. Okay? Number two is there's sort of like a fear of failure, like this fear of failure that happens. It may be a fear of failure, it may be a fear of success. It depends on the person big time, you know what I mean? But, like, I know, like, fear of success can almost be more crazy than fear of failure in a way, because you're like, well, yeah, but what, it could not go well, and then, I don't know, I'm trying to kind of walk through it, but it's sort of like, if I try and it doesn't work well, then I failed. And then it's over. And I fucked up. You know what I mean? And it just can't be further from the truth, man. Like, every failure is like an opportunity to learn at the end of the day. It's an opportunity to progress. It's an opportunity to get better. It's an opportunity to find like your sweet spot. Because not all of us know exactly like what we're doing or what we're like the best at or what like is going to work for us like off the top. Like, you have to just do stuff to find that, you know, and that's like part of the kind of humor of life. It's just that like you have to know what you want and what you need and what's next. You have to do something. You have to take some action. You know what I mean? Thinking isn't going to do it. You can't just think yourself into a situation. You know what I mean? Here we got a motorcycle. So anyway, yeah, actionable advice. Let's just jump into that, man. I think I already dropped a little bit of it, but I think we're living in a society that's extremely comfort and convenience focused. People want to be comfortable and they want to have convenience over almost anything. If you feel that way, introduce some inconvenience in your life. Introduce some pain. Introduce some reality. You know, ruminate on your death. Think about your death. Think about that you're going to die. You know, contemplate that. Be real about life and put on your like provider hat, your hunter hat, and see yourself as somebody that needs to get results or you can get in a worse situation. So you need to take some action. There's no standing still. You need to be moving forward. Even if you're moving in the wrong direction, you can always correct that later, right? Like, see it as a series of failures that lead to a success. It's not just like instant success. Like, very few of us have like instant success with anything, okay? So be real about that and take steps forward, you know, even if they're small steps. You know, a lot of people are like, think big, and man, if you don't, you know, if you're in that position and you're like, think big, I don't want to think big. Well, don't think big then. Think small and take small steps forward until you can start to take bigger ones, right? But take some steps, take action on something, and don't just like fuck around with software and read blog posts and feel like you need that next thing before you can do the thing, and feel like you like without that sales script that is like $39.99 from this guru, you won't be able to sell. Like, dude, no. Like, take action, start selling, you know. And if you're introverted, you know, I mean, you're gonna have to break out of your shell at some point. You know what I mean? It depends on how introverted you are. Like, I consider myself to be a bit introverted even, but all of us are a balance of things, you know. We're male, we're feminine and masculine. We're introvert and we're extrovert, and we're serious and we're funny, and like, you know what I mean. You need to find that balance of those things. You're not one thing or the other. And the more you say I am an introvert, the more you stop yourself from taking action. Right? You're not living to your full potential because you keep saying I am this and I am that. So personality is very fake. It's very fraudulent. Like, the personality you have, you built it mostly in response to trauma, from your parents and from your upbringing. Like, you're still that kid inside, or you built all these like barriers of who you are, you know, based on what your parents said was okay and what your teachers told you should do, blah blah blah, you know. So you have to start to break that stuff down, and again, that's where the discomfort starts to come in. You need to break down some of these things and like unlearn a lot of like what society and your parents and your teachers have taught you. And I know a lot of people get mad at me about the parent stuff because they're like, yeah, but I love my parents. It's like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. Like, you can love your parents. Like, love your parents all you want. Some people don't love their parents. Some people's parents don't love them. This is all real. You know what I mean? So, like, some of us grew up with mothers that didn't give a shit about us, never looked us in the eye, never made connection with us. You know what I mean? And it changes your life. So, like, be real about it and like unlearn some of these things. I don't even care if you had like the best upbringing and you love your parents more than anything and they've given you everything. They're not right about everything, and they're not you. You know, you're you, and you need to establish your own shit, right? You need to have your own fucking path and your own values and stuff. You can't just adopt all of their stuff and think that it's correct and just go through life like that. You're gonna have a lot of problems, right? And that may lead to a lot of these feelings that we're talking about right now, where you're kind of afraid of failure, afraid of success. You're feeling like you have walls around you, like you have these barricades that, like, if you know what I mean, if you don't have that next shiny object, you can't do it. I think it's also good to like remember people from the past, and like, I mean, if you're lucky enough to have a grandparent or a great grandparent that's alive, you know what I mean? You should utilize that and talk to these motherfuckers, man, because they know the deal. And I never grew up with grandparents, but they were all dead. But I have my wife's grandparent. Her grandpa, grew up in the middle of nowhere out in Guerrero. It's a state here in Mexico, and grew up working in mines when he was 15, right? Working in the fields and agriculture when he was about 8 or 9, and then started working in the mines and the gold mines, because it was a big gold rush back then. Started working this was like in the 40s. Started working in the gold mines. You know what I mean? Not easy jobs, man. Ended up falling in love with food and cooking and stuff like that. Got the opportunity to come out to Mexico City, and got hooked up through a friend of a friend of a friend, with the passion that he had to become a chef at one of the biggest hotels here in Mexico City at the time, which is now changed to a different hotel. He met the president at the time. He met like all the top like officials in the Mexican government. Like he rose in the ranks, to be a top chef in this country, and like met some of the most important people, just being like a poor kid from like the middle of nowhere, right? And hearing his stories, hearing him talk about it, you know what I mean? Hearing it from his point of view, and seeing his actions and the way he lived, and just how humble he was, and how just how real he was, you know what I mean? And the way he died as well. He went back to his pueblo. He was his village. He was here in the city. He was feeling kind of weird. He had like stomach issues and gut issues. He had surgery and stuff. And he was 82, 83 years old, I believe. And he was at home here in Mexico City, and he felt something like, he felt death calling him. He took a bus. It's like an 8-hour bus ride, all fucked up. He took this bus ride out to the village. Got back to the village. Went out, fished. Like just grabbed his fishing pole, went fishing, caught a fish, barbecued up the fish, ate it, drank a beer, laid in a hammock, and died. Died peacefully. Just died. Knew he was going to die. Had his last fish. Had his last meal in his village where he was comfortable and where he loved, in nature. And laid down and died. And knowing somebody like that is very impactful, and there's a lot of examples of this, and he was not a rich man at all, you know what I mean? But he took action, and he executed, and he made a better life for his family, and he died doing what he loved, fishing and chilling in nature in his village. So, just a little story there to give you, that's what we should all be striving for, It's not all about like money and material wealth either, It's about taking action, learning from failures, and becoming a better person, becoming a warrior in this life, being able to deal with any situation and being able to thrive under pressure, and to have that pressure and to have that real pressure of life, and not get sucked into these government incentives and these banking incentives where you have like everything you need, and whatever that new economic forum thing is, or whatever that they were saying, that World Economic Forum thing, you don't own anything and you have everything you need and you've never been happier. Like, what kind of life is that? Like, we're all responsible for our own self. So anyway, happy you brought up that question. I think it's a beautiful question. I'm having trouble executing. I'm having trouble taking that next step, actually doing the sales, getting out there in front of people and getting feedback. I built the product. I'm building the thing. I think I know what I'm doing. I think I know the market. Man, you gotta humble yourself. Think about the people, your grandparents, and the people that were before us, the people that built the roads, the people that built this world. They never had any comfort in their lives, and they executed nonstop to make a better life for themselves and for their families. And you need to look at it from that perspective, and just, there's no question that you need to do it. You need to take action now. Take action right now. And even if that's like the stupidest action ever, and you're like, look back in 5 years and you go, what the fuck was I thinking? It doesn't matter. Take some action now. And you're gonna thank me later for just like, man, just suck it up, get rid of some of those comforts, or get those out of your brain, and put yourself in the mindset, at very least, if not giving up some of the comforts, put yourself in that mindset of like, if I don't kill, I don't eat, and I need to take a step forward. Even if it's a bad step, I need to take some step. And you're gonna get better, and you're gonna get better, and you're gonna get better, and you're gonna get better and better and better. And pretty soon, you're gonna look back and go, fuck yes, I'm so glad I took that first step. Failure is just a gateway to success. It's just a learning process. So cool, guys. Get out there and learn and build and grow and just get a little better every day. And you're gonna be ultimately infinitely successful, whatever that means for you. And we'll talk about that in another video. But thank you for watching, and subscribe, like the video if you got any value from this. I'll keep doing these videos as long as I can, and just try to kind of deal with some business stuff, deal with some life stuff. And I think this is kind of a combination of both. So just keep that in mind, man. Keep that in mind. The older generation, keep that in mind. Taking responsibility for your own life and for your family and everything else, and be that provider, be that hunter, be that warrior in life. And blessings, and thank you so much for watching.